going on, guys? Thank you so very much for stopping by the channel once again. Today, we are going to do something a little bit different today. We are going to go over your hottest wrestling takes, and then I'm going to roast you in today's video. Maybe not roast you in today's video, depending on what you guys got to say. Let's get right into it because I'm excited to see what you all have to think about the current WWE and AEW products. We'll start off with this one. NXT's Women's Division is better than both main rosters of WWE and AEW. Now, I wanted to start off light. I don't really think this is much of a hot take, even though the NXT Women's Division doesn't have the star power when WWE doesn't want to get desperate and use Becky Lynch and whoever else, Asuka or Rhea Ripley, down on NXT when they don't want to get desperate. I know NXT doesn't have the star power that the main rosters of WWE and AEW will have. AEW and their women's division is just completely mismanaged. That's the only problem that they are dealing with right now. They don't know what the fuck they're doing over there, and they don't really have any substantial storylines for the main women's championships. WWE is the same thing. They got all the talent in the world, but the only thing holding them back is the creative. The one thing that Shawn Michaels does on a weekly basis is focus on his women's division. There are stories outside of the World Championship for the women's division that take place on NXT television, something that WWE and AEW do not do. So I will rephrase this. It's not better. It's just better managed than both WWE and AEW because they are doing everything else to use the supporting players instead of focusing on the top talent and withering the division into repetitive matches and stories that don't really matter or stories that are non-existent. Take number 2, AEW should bring back the fucking rankings for each of the top titles and make it top 10 for each title. Plenty of opportunities for the bloated roster to chase a specific title and to keep storylines structured. UFC is on fire right now because they make storylines out of ranked fighters fighting each other. I mean, I don't know if this is much of a hot take. I don't know why AEW did away with the ranking system. It's definitely something that made them stand out as being the alternative to WWE. I miss the ranking system. AEW didn't even utilize it properly. They did in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they kind of ignored it. It was there, and then they didn't really put much effort into it. I like it because you could make matches out of the top 5, top 10, make matches out of the rankings, and it gave the television shows a little bit more of an importance. It gave the shows meaning. For example, if you have the top of your rankings taken up by MJF, and you put everybody else that's in contention for MJF's title in a top 10, you could easily make matches out of the top 9 or so outside MJF and really get the ranking system moving. Who's coming up in the rankings to challenge MJF? Put those matches on TV. Give the shows a little bit more of an importance than they usually are. Instead of Tony Khan booking dream matches or matches that don't make any sense or matches that don't really matter to the longevity of a storyline or what AEW is doing. I don't know why they went away from it. I honestly feel like they went away from it because Tony Khan thinks that what he does is the best and he wants to do what he wants to do and he doesn't want to be held down by some ranking system. I think it's a mistake. So yeah, again, I don't really consider this a hot take. Some of you may not like the rankings, but in my honest opinion, I do think that AEW should use the rankings and I do think that they should bring the rankings back. Take number 3 here, Ilya Dragonov should be in contention for Wrestler of the Year. Sells his ass off for others, only puts on bangers, brings his opponents to another level when they are in the ring with him. But he doesn't get enough recognition or isn't in the conversation because he's on NXT. I honestly think Illya Dragonov being on NXT is holding him back from really being showcased the way that he should. I've said it for months now. I think Illya Dragonov should be on Raw or should be on SmackDown. He should be in the ring with the likes of an AJ Styles and a Gunther and guys of that nature. He really should. I really feel like when he's on TV, he has a presence about him that brings a sense of legitimacy. I think when he's in the ring, the way he sells, it reminds me almost of Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was unbelievable in the way he sold. Illya Dragonov sells his ass off for everybody he's in the ring with. I've said this many times, and I said it really dating back to his last match with Carmelo Hayes, which was tremendous. Definite match of the year candidate, and that was a nice spotlight to really get people on board with what Dragonov is doing. He sold his ass off for Carmelo Hayes. He made Carmelo Hayes look better than Carmelo Hayes has ever looked. And that's what Illya Dragonov does. He brings that sense of realism that WWE sometimes doesn't have. You get it from some, and then most of the time you don't get it. Illya Dragonov brings that, and I truly do believe he should be in contention for Wrestler of the Year, but sadly he won't because he's on a developmental brand, and a lot of people don't really care about what's happening on NXT unless WWE is doing something outlandish like they did on Tuesday night to combat AEW. Take number 4 here. AEW, in the grand scheme of things, has failed to live up to the lofty expectations of being deemed the alternative to WWE, and nobody on their roster, not even MJF, would come close to getting the treatment Roman Reigns gets if they ever jump ship to WWE. Did AEW fail to meet lofty expectations? I don't know what the expectations are, per se. What are the expectations? Did we all expect with the arrival of AEW that they were going to be the number one pro wrestling company in the world? No. No, I don't know what expectations you guys are asking for. The only expectations that I wanted and I expected from AEW was to give us something different than what WWE was doing. It's nothing that AEW did or didn't do. It's the fact that so much has changed in the WWE. Is AEW a great promotion? Yes. Is the existence of AEW a great thing for the pro wrestling business? Yes. Those are the expectations that I expected. Those are the expectations that I wanted to see with the arrival of AEW. Because when WWE was running the ship all by themselves and they were a monopoly and there was no other place for anybody to go, what did you do when you became disenfranchised with AEW and you said, fuck this shit, I'm tired of what Vince and Bruce and his fucking old man fucking brigade is doing over there? Where did you go? What were the alternatives that you had? So the fact that AEW merely exists, they exceeded my expectations right from the word go, because we did not expect another promotion to come on up as quick as they have and give us the quality of product that they have given us to give WWE some competition. And at the end of the day, I do agree that the alternative statement, or AEW being the alternative, that gets lost in translation now. When Vince was there, they were absolutely the alternative. Now that Triple H is in charge and Triple H is giving us a dose of what he created with the black and gold on the main roster, there really isn't much of an alternative anymore, because what WWE is doing the same thing that AEW is doing, but with a bigger budget and better. They got the grander stage to do it all. So the alternative statement doesn't really hold much weight anymore, because Tony Khan was the alternative because Vince wasn't doing what Tony Khan was doing, or vice versa. Tony Khan, he was giving us something different than what Vince McMahon gave us. Now exactly what is Tony Khan giving us different than what Triple H is doing? Because at the end of this battle, Triple H is going to be doing what Tony Khan is doing, but better. Take number 5 here. Shinsuke Nakamura in 2023 is washed as a professional wrestler. Dominic Mysterio is an overrated heel. Subpar mic skills and his booze mask his genuine ability to be a heel. Now, I'm going to have to disagree on the Shinsuke Nakamura being washed. I don't think Shinsuke Nakamura is washed. In fact, I'm going to go out there and say that the work that Nakamura is doing, though he's not really depicted as a world champion caliber pro wrestler, and he's not really at the focus of a major storyline. He was with Seth Rollins, but I don't really consider that major. It was for the world championship. I'm going to go out there and say that I think Shinsuke Nakamura and what he's been doing the last couple of months with his heel run is probably the best stuff that he's done in WWE since he got called up from NXT. Nothing's going to rival his black and gold debut. Nothing. He was fucking fantastic down there, and the team down there, when they got him, they presented him in the way that he should. He felt special. Then he lost to Jinder Mahal, and then he didn't really feel special anymore because Vince saw nothing in him. So I'm going to disagree that I don't think he's washed as a professional wrestler in 2023. In fact, I think he's doing the best character work of his entire WWE main roster run. And Dominic Mysterio is an overrated heel. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Do I think that Dominic is slightly overrated? Yes, I do. Do I think Dominic Mysterio is getting better at what he's doing? Yes. Do I think that Dominic Mysterio is going to be great at some point in the future? Yes. But I do think that right now, the reason why Dominic Mysterio has so much hype around him is because who WWE has centered around him. Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, along with Finn Balor, and him being in the Judgment Day has enhanced his overall character and his overall presentation. If he didn't have Judgment Day and he didn't have Rhea Ripley, I would mostly agree with him being overrated. But the fact that he's in Judgment Day and they have done fantastic work on the main roster, I'm going to say I kind of agree, but then I don't. But I do think that he is enhanced by who WWE has surrounded him with. Take number 6, Bianca Belair. Love her as an in-ring performer, but the goody two-shoes babyface gimmick has got to go. You put her with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley because of the good things they're doing on television right now. We can see a different side of her we haven't seen before. This, I don't think, is much of a hot take, though in some circles in the IWC on social media, they may look at you like you got 7 fucking heads. But I do agree with you because I do think that Bianca Belair, though she's great, I love Bianca Belair, I do think that her babyface run has gotten kind of stale. And I honestly feel that what we need to do is we've gotten the best of who Bianca Belair is in the ring right now. I do think that if we go back to what she was doing as far as character work in NXT during Black and Gold, and you mix that Bianca Belair with this Bianca Belair, I think you got a recipe for success right there. But sadly, it's not going to happen. WWE's not going to turn her heel. They're not going to put her with the Street Profits. They're not going to put her with Bobby Lashley in the new Hurt Business because Bianca Belair is such a likable character to the casual audience. And Bianca Belair does so much PR for the company with little girls and outreach programs. And you see little girls coming to the shows with the braid and signs for Bianca Belair and how much of an influence and an inspiration she is to the young audience. I don't think that's going to happen. It's almost going to mirror John Cena. We all cried and wanted John Cena to turn heel. But did WWE ever do that? No. Did it make sense for them to do that? Sure, because he ran his course as a babyface. But with him making over 600, 700 Make-A-Wish, WWE was never going to turn John Cena heel for him to do the most important thing that he does for the company, and that is be the face of the company and a good PR marketing pro wrestler. So I don't see WWE doing that with Bianca Belair, though I do think that she is in desperate need of a character change, 100%. Take number 7. I feel like Tony Khan sometimes uses the best ideas from other promotions and jumbles them up and then makes his TV content and nobody calls it out. I don't really understand where you're coming from with this one, and I don't really agree with that at all. Does Tony Khan repeat several concepts over the course of a year to a point where enough is enough? Absolutely. How many battle royals do we get? How many tournaments do we get? How many iterations of battle royals do we get? How many dream matches with no rhyme or reason do we get? Yes, we get a lot of shit that I wish Tony Khan would scale back on. But does he take other ideas from other promotions and use them on his own show and kind of make them into his own? I mean, it's pro wrestling. Everybody's done the same thing, no matter you watch pro wrestling, whether you listen to a musical artist, whether you watch someone who cooks a certain way for a certain meal. Everything is borrowed from somebody else. Recipe may be different, but at the end of the day, it's basically the same with the same ingredients. What do you expect Tony Khan to do? I do wish that he would scale back on some things and maybe make something for his TV show that is a staple like a Royal Rumble or so, something unique, something different, something that's going to give character to AEW that's never been done before. But at the end of the day, it's very difficult to come up with something new and call it your own. How many different guitar riffs have we had across the fucking universe? How many of those guitar riffs have sounded similar? How many of those rhythms or guitar tones have sounded similar to something that you might have heard in the past before? Everybody borrows from everybody else. There is influence taken from a lot of different places. But at the end of the day, I don't think Tony Khan takes ideas from other promotions. I think everybody's guilty of that. So don't really single out Tony Khan for that. He's got other problems to really be concerned with. Taking ideas and concepts from other people is not something Tony Khan should be blamed for. Take number 8 here. The leaks and rumors from AEW are from ex-WWE production guys TK hired. VKM is not running creative, but rather Bruce Pritchard. When VKM came back, he and Trips agreed that half of the shows will be booked by Trips and others by VKM and Bruce Pritchard. I don't know if this is much of a hot take, bro, but now that Triple H is in charge, we don't have to worry about this. For the most part, he's in charge until Vince says so. But don't let the secret out. Everybody thinks we're conspiracy theorists. Yes, most of the show before Triple H was knighted by Ari Emanuel and Endeavor, most of the show was booked by Vince McMahon, with half of it being Vince and half of it being Triple H. Vince couldn't be there, and you know he used Bruce Pritchard as his go-to guy, as mini-me. He definitely used Bruce Pritchard more so in that role. And what is Triple H going to do? Argue with his father-in-law? You know for a fact that Raw felt like garbage. When Triple H books something, we know what Triple H is capable of and what a Triple H segment is. When Vince books something, we know what a Vince McMahon segment is compared to a Triple H segment. And I do feel like WWE had Vince run SmackDown and Triple H, for the most part, run Raw, unless Vince McMahon didn't want something or someone on the show. Then he made remote changes. But yes, don't let the secret out. Take number 9. This one's going to make the geeks cry. Orange Cassidy should at least be in the top 10 PWI rankings for Best Wrestler of the Year. I don't know, man. I don't know. How many people dislike Orange Cassidy and what he brings to the table? How many times have I said over the course of this year, I think the Orange Cassidy hate should take a fucking halt. Stop with the Orange Cassidy hate. He may not be your cup of tea. He may not be a gimmick that you like. It may look and sound ridiculous. But there's 2 things that Orange Cassidy brings to the table. He's different. In a world of pro wrestling where you see a lot of people being the same and feeling the same and wrestling the same, Orange Cassidy's gone out there and delivered a gimmick that ain't nobody's done, and he does it fucking well. He's got a gimmick and he's got a character. As far as his in-ring work, he's had one of the best title runs of anybody in AEW history. On top of that, he's a very good professional wrestler and has had some banger matches for AEW. On top of that, he's got the backing of the entire company and the backing of Tony Khan. So if you're Orange Cassidy, why do you give a shit about what anybody says on social media who is visibly against what you're doing? Orange Cassidy, I don't know if he should be top 10, but if you want to start talking top 20, top 30, absolutely. He should definitely be in the top 25, in my honest opinion, for what he's done in 2023. And the last one here for today, take number 10. At the end of his career, Seth Rollins will be on a majority of people's WWE Mount Rushmore. Oh, man, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Are you serious with that? No, he will not be on Mount Rushmore for anybody Not to take anything away from Seth Rollins. He's a fantastic pro wrestler. But as of right now, the way that I see Seth Rollins, he doesn't even feel like a world champion. At the end of the day, I would put the Shield on the Mount Rushmore of groups, of all-time great groups in WWE history. Seth Rollins as an individual performer, I don't think he's going to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. If you guys want to get in on all the action and all the discussion, when you see the tweet go out and I ask you for some hot takes, man, I want you guys to bring the fire. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes on today's video. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And make sure you guys go check out all the other content on the channel. Make sure, again, follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo, guys. Until the next one, I'll see you guys later.